Hey, on my Travel Wins podcast today, I'm lucky to have Michael-David Reilly. How are you today, MD?
Doing great, Pete. Doing great, man.
Appreciate the time, buddy. I know you've been bouncing around, traveling a little bit here and there with multiple companies.
It's all good. It's what we do.
So, I know you have the animal buds, which I appreciate because you have a big, beefy meatball of a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually been a really fun venture for us.
I have the junior version of that, the Frenchie, the 30-pound version. You also are the founder CEO of Tech Crew Media.
Yes.
And then
I am.
You also host and produce your own podcast, 35K a day.
I do. Yeah, that's been a really fun thing to do too. I've enjoyed that a lot.
Oh, and by the way, you're also a husband, father.
Yes.
The part-time gigs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little. I have a few plates at my place settings.
You're good at spinning.
Well, I'm not going to say that. I've broken a few plates over the years, but yeah.
I
give it my best.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
So I like talking to overnight successes, but I'll talk to you instead. Because I really haven't met that overnight success yet. I think that.
Yeah.
I have two daughters. They're 24, 25, and I keep telling them, I go, look, you keep comparing yourself. You want what, these people that have 20, 30, 40 years of experience have. Well, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start that way either.
Yeah. Which creates a lot of debt crisis because, I saw it coming out of my generation where a lot of my friends were, coming to college and they wanted the really nice house and all the furnishings and that took their family, 3 decades to build.
Exactly. That's the talks I have because now with, obviously with social media, everyone can at least pretend that they have or live the lifestyle everyone else wants.
Man, it is we're at a funny time with that because social media allows us to scale really an idea of anything within a few minutes on our phones. But you still have to be good at what you do. And you can only, pander for attention for so long before finally you're going to be exposed.
Exactly. Totally agree.
And, everybody's talking about how images are photoshopped, for magazine covers and magazine spreads. And I get it. But at the same time, there's a reason why you pick up that magazine. You want a bit of fantasy in that. You want to, you're tired of kind of a lot of the struggles in your life, and you want something good to look at and good to read, and that requires a little bit of touch up.
The best quote I ever heard. There's the Go-Go's, the girl group.
Yeah.
And the lead singer Belinda Carlisle.
Yeah,
she did a Playboy photo shoot. I think she was in her 40s, maybe.
Yeah.
And people were commenting, God, I wish when I'm your age, I can't wait I would love to have the body like yours. I want a butt just like that. She goes, so do I. That's not mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she was completely admitting.
Yeah, it's part of it, and we may not like it. Well, if you don't like it, don't read it.
Yeah. Well.
We're in a really strange point of our society where we all are wanting the world to succumb to our will, and it doesn't work. And then we get upset because the world doesn't conform to our will and our beliefs and our expectations. It's a sense of entitlement that I think, participation trophies have really cultivated.
I totally agree. Well, I go to a lot of comedy. I love comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like all their jokes.
Yeah.
But I made the choice to go there.
That's right.
And I could make the choice to get up if there are some comedians I won't go see.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to go to the show and then complain about it.
Right.
Right.
But people complain for very strange reasons, and this is, I'm always compelled by human behavior, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm in marketing. But for reasons that most may not realize, where people are in their life, most are grossly dissatisfied. And, what I found growing up in non-denominational church, my family ended up in this cult, is Christians I found by kind of a blanket statement never really feel worthy of the love and faith that they're given through their belief through God. And so because of that, they feel very inferior. But nobody wants to feel inferior alone. So rather than raise their own standard, standard and really work on themselves to love who they are because they're imperfections, they're going to push other people down by pointing out how much they suck. You know, your sin doesn't make you better. It's just different. However you sin, however you want to equate that. Yeah. And so when people complain, I realize, understanding people, that when they complain and they criticize, it's because they're really unhappy with who they are. And so rather than take a look at your life and audit yourself and really find the things that you need to really fix, if it's forgiveness, if it's moving on, if it's letting go, and raising your standard. But until you do that, you never want to admit where you need help. So you're going to point out and complain about all the things that you don't like. Well, it's not the world's job to like who you are. It's not the world's job to give you opportunities. It's not the world's job to give you raises and to give you followers. It's your job to earn it. So if you're unhappy with where you are in life, we're in the greatest point of life where you can choose to do something different. If you hate your job, find a different one. Yeah. But if you say, but MD, I can't afford to do that, well, you did that to yourself. Maybe you bought that house you really couldn't have afforded. Maybe you bought that car that you wanted because you wanted to impress all your friends how much money you wanted them to think you had.
We have friends that will say that all the time. And I have friends that say, I want to get a new job. I go, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, you wouldn't have bought the new car if you were saving up to make it a career change. Mm-hmm. They justify it though. They go, I hate my job, so if I'm going to hate my job, I'm going to buy the new car, or I'm going to go on this trip. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hold on. You're going to go on a trip for 2 weeks because you hate your other 50 weeks? That makes no sense.
People justify things, but just because you can justify it doesn't mean it's right.
Exactly.
And typically, if you have to justify it, it wasn't right.
I agree. You're in the digital world now, but yet you still travel for work, right?
I do, yeah.
I mean, there's still a need for face-to-face.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, I mean, you travel mainly for your media company?
Yeah, for tech media. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's still value in, look, no matter what we do, we're still in the human business. And we, as humans, love and need interaction. It's a part of what helps build relationships to be trustworthy. A handshake, having dinner, making the effort to go to an office or be in a meeting. It's great with virtual. And some of our clients, have been 100% virtual since day one. But there is a point where there is this draw that you still want to be able to see somebody face to face. If it came to it, every keynote speaker could be done virtually. But there is so much value when that person's on that stage in your room, breathing the same oxygen you are.
Yeah, can you imagine a TEDx with nobody on the stage?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
imagine a little comedy show, and they just live stream the comedian into the auditorium.
And the guy's in his basement or something.
Yeah, pajamas waist down.
I just saw a virtual reality. I talked to this lady. She works for Insta360. It's a 360 camera, and it's literally smaller than the size of my hand.
Yeah.
And you can put it on a 3-foot stick. The
Yeah.
technology of the camera wipes away the stick.
Yeah.
So when you hold it out, you don't see the stick. And you can literally put the virtual reality headset on, and you're there, wherever that's at. Mm-hmm. I'm like, it's coming, but right now we still have to be in person.
We are still 20 solid years away from really operating and living in virtual reality. We're always looking at ways to become more efficient. But just because you can do certain things doesn't mean you should, doesn't mean it's the best. So many businesses are really finding one of the greatest ways to reduce their overhead is not having big fancy offices anymore, allowing certain staff that doesn't have to be in an office to be able to work from home, like you.
Yeah.
Right? There's no need.
Absolutely.
Because for a lot of people, you're not going to be productive at a desk. That's why all of my staff work from home. Creative designers, they're not going to be creative in a cubicle, no matter how many foosball tables you have in the office building.
Exactly.
You got to let them be in their own. If it's in the basement, surrounded by cases of Monster and their game streaming behind them, I don't care. As long as you produce the result that allows you to do that at your best, that's all that matters. However, most people look at working from home as a ticket to sleep in,
to not work,
and to not work. Yeah. Because let's be honest, most people when they're at their job are not working either.
Well,
they spend more time on social media. They spend more time on personal phone calls. They spend more time taking coffee breaks and pee breaks and smoke
water
breaks,
cooler,
and waste so much time in meetings. The last agency I was running here in Houston, I put in my office a standing table, and it was my huddle desk. And every meeting was done at that table, even interviews, because I told them, I said, look, you come to me with problems, you come to me with some type of solution you tried to work through, and we're going to talk about it and move on. Because when you sit, you think we're going to hang out. I'm not here to hang out, because as the company, let's say the company time is $100 an hour. Well, when I've got 4 people at the table, we're spending $100 every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not making us money. So you're not going to sit here long. We're not going to hem-haw. We're not here to hang out. We're here to solve problems for our business owners and our clients. And when you want to talk about what you did over the weekend, I love you. I'm not here for that. So people just lost the sense of really what they were. And this is where I think so many people have lost their drive in their profession of whatever job there is, whether they're a cashier at a convenience store, or they're administrative executive, or they're in sales, or whatever job they have, is they've lost the conception of who they really are to that business. And I tell a lot of people that are coming out of college is to, number one, look at when you graduate, you really don't have value yet. Your value is based on ideas, theology that you've learned. You really don't have any. You don't have any practical line items that show that you've solved one problem for any business yet. So when you sit down to interview, understand the fact that when you're interviewing, you're costing that company money. And the moment that they think that you are the candidate that can help them grow is the moment that you have to gain the respect that this company that has been bleeding for years, growing their company to the point that they can have the capital to invest in you to help them grow a little bit more, is the day you have to look at yourself like an entrepreneur coming into the Shark Tank and you're looking for an investment. That company now said, you know what, based on what you've presented, we feel as though you have the potential to solve problems for us. So that value is $60,000 for the year. That means if you're on Shark Tank, that company is going to invest $60,000 into your idea, into who you are, because they invest in people, not necessarily things. Well, if you just show up every day and work 9 to 5 and you do status quo, you haven't made them money, which means you're really not a valued asset. So if you don't get the promotion you think you should have gotten because you've been there for 5 years, or you didn't get the raise you thought you should have received after a year, it's because you didn't do anything that proved value other than what you were hired to do. So that's why I really advise people, everybody's an entrepreneur. You have to look at it that way. And when you're in your business, you're the CEO of your cubicle. And if you're not looking at ways to grow your business and find more value with those that invested in you, then you're going to be out of a job. And you have only yourself to blame. So what I did in management to really help people find their potential is I've always created a spreadsheet. There's a problem solved and a problems caused column. Now, I don't like micromanage at all, but I did this to help keep me with the right perspective on people who were an asset and who was a liability. And so when they would go above and beyond their job description, I would write problem solved. whenever they would show up late, they were causing problems. They were not delivering. They were late on reports. They were just causing problems within the environment that I would make note of those too. And if I noticed somebody who was always a winner now causing a lot of problems, well, clearly, because we're humans, I'd have to have a talk with them. What's going on?
Yeah.
You've normally been a performer. What's happening? What's going on in your personal life?
Yeah.
And to figure out what's happening, because I want to get them back on track. But if after 6 months for their review or quarterly review, they're excited, they want to talk about a raise, well, this is what I've noticed so far. Now, you tell me by looking at this, have you earned a raise or earned more opportunity? Because I'm a practical guy, I'm binary, and I want to do what works. And I also know that, we're also emotional, and we fall victim to things that are going on in our life that can be hard. Okay, well, there's only so many times in the real world where you can be given a pat on the back when you didn't earn it. So, well, I deserve that raise.
Well, don't hurt my feelings, MD.
Well, even the word deserve doesn't exist in my home with my kids. You don't deserve anything. Everything you get in life, you earned by either making the decisions that got you there with a positive result, or you earned the negatives. But either way, everything
that goes back to your $35K a day, right? Explain what that is.
$35K a day is based on the research that through human behavior as adults, we average 35,000 decisions every single day, from the minuscule to the life-changing, from how many times you hit the snooze alarm to are you going to go right or left, are you going to stop and get some coffee, or are you going to supersize that, or are you going to complete your list of tasks today and really give 100%, or are you not and put it off until tomorrow? So every outcome in our life, from the past 5 minutes to what we've been doing the past 5 years or 10 years, is the reason why we have the outcomes in our life right now. Stresses, love, achievements, weight gain, weight loss, whatever it may be, is all because of the decisions we're making on a daily basis. And, when people complain about where they are and, gosh, I just never saw my life turning out this way. Well, that's because you've had your life on autopilot, living passively, allowing the conditions around you to dictate how you're going to be and who you're going to be and what you're going to do. I equate it to like a boat being out in the ocean, and you end up on this beach, and it's not where you want it to go. Well, your rudder and your sail are your choices, and your drive is the wind. And until you put that rudder in the back of the boat into the water, you're going to be led by the currents of conditions around you. So now you're leaving everything that is inconsistent to be your constant. And that's why people are always struggling with not really accomplishing things in their life that they really want. It's because they're not looking at themselves in the decisions they're making as the real reason why you are where you are. So it comes down to choice. If you want better outcomes, make better decisions. If you want things to be different, make different decisions. But until you're prepared to take full ownership of where you are in your life, and you're there because of your choices, whether in actions or reactions to everything, then you're not ready to really improve your life. You're still looking for a quick fix. So, full accountability to the decisions we make, every single one of them, is the very reason why your life is headed in the direction you want to go with deliberate intent, or you're simply just floating and you're a victim because of your inability to make proactive decisions.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have a sales rep that works for us, and or with me. He's 25, 26, and I was typing one day at our sales meeting, and he's like, "Oh man, I wish I could type like that." I go, "No, you don't." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "You're a team roper, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "How many hours have you spent roping a dummy?"
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Couldn't count." I go, "How many hours have you spent learning how to type?"
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I said, if you really wanted to type that way, you would put the time in to learn how to do it, just like you did team roping.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I hate you sometimes.
But you know what? It comes to our human behavior and our insecurities. Is we hate to be in a room with people that are doing things better than us. But there are just some parts of us where, you know what, I walk into a room and there are some people that are incredible, video producers. Like, man, it would be really cool to be able to produce things like that. But you know what? I don't have the time and I don't have the desire.
Right. But at least you admit that.
Well, and look, there are so few things. I am so competitive with myself. I started as a competitive cyclist at the age of 12, 13 years old. And I loved the drive that I got on my bike, and I could go as far and as fast as I decided to push myself. Yeah. And I took this really hard lesson at one race. And there was this guy that showed up, and I was showing up pretty confident because I trained by myself and I was all in. I was full throttle the entire way. Not the greatest strategy, but it's the only one that I knew. Yeah. And I showed up to the race ready area. This guy was pulling off this super fancy bike. He had muscular, shaved legs, tan, all the latest and greatest equipment. He looked like Mr. Professional. And I got intimidated. And I realized at that point, I'm now racing for second place without ever having seen this person ever race before. Yeah. I looked at him and I thought, he's got everything it takes to be a winner. Well, we were approaching the first big climb. And me, when I face a hill, I know the pace, I know the gear, and I prepare myself. But what I realized is everybody in the pack that I was with, and this guy was in the front, everybody was gearing down to an easier gear, which told me everybody was already beaten by that hill before we ever got to the base of it. I'm like, okay, well, let me just kind of see how this plays out. So I'm nestled in the middle of this pack, and this guy's in the front, and the pace is getting slower and slower and slower. I got pissed. I went, screw this. So I geared up to where I normally gear, and I broke out of the pack, and I dropped those guys like they were sitting still to the pace that was good for me. And I'm shaking my head going, why is this guy not even following me? Yeah. And I had basic bitch bike. Like, I had the Trek Chrome Ollie 310. You would damn near think it was hand-me-downs because my shit was just, I ran my stuff through the ringer because I used it every single day. And I finished that race and I won it. And that guy crossed the finish line. And it was a real gut check for myself at that age. And I realized, it doesn't matter the bike. It doesn't matter everything. What matters is me. I'm the motor. So I can't ever go to a race again and ever let somebody's bike or physique ever dictate to me how I'm going to finish. And I look back at my career as a cyclist and triathlete, and everything I learned in how to become better at those sports were practical insights in how to be a success in my life. Now, look, I've been divorced twice. I'm now remarried to an incredible unicorn, but I would not have known how to really flourish a beautiful marriage now had I not taken the lessons I needed to learn from the divorces to know how to create that successful marriage. And again, I had to stop comparing myself with my expectations that I even had for my life, because I certainly didn't have, be married 3 times when I was in high school. That was not my plan. Right. But I had to be able to take the lessons that I was learning as an athlete and to figure out where I need to take ownership and where I need to actually improve myself to have a better outcome, because that was on me. And the day that I realized, 2 failed marriages, all these, different, jobs that I'd come through and relationships, shit, man, I'm the common denominator. Where am I going wrong? When I had that real hard truth in life, I had it as an athlete, but I'd never really put it together in my life. When I finally did that, that's when my life changed. That's when my business changed. That's when the outcomes of my life really changed, because I stopped blaming the abuse of my mother and being raised in a home with a manic-depressive bipolar alcoholic that was violently abusive against me. I stopped using all of these excuses, playing a victim and going, okay, that all happened and that's shitty, but how I react to all this and how I use it is entirely up to me.
I heard, go ahead, bud.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm divorced as well. Yeah. And I've told my daughters, who are daughters from my first marriage, that I wasn't a perfect husband, and their mom wasn't a perfect wife. And I go, but I'm a much better person now because I went through it.
Yeah.
And I heard Will Smith, the actor, got divorced and now he's remarried to Jada Pinkett. Mm-hmm. And he said, somebody asked, why do you think you'll be successful with your marriage with Jada Pinkett when you weren't successful with the first marriage? Mm-hmm. And he said, and for me, because I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
And he goes, for him, he was super competitive. And so what happened was, he's goal driven. So he had set his goal to get married. So when he got married, he goes, okay, I completed that goal. Now I'm going to move on to my career and my other, my physical attributes and all, because I did my goal. I got married. Mm-hmm. And he stopped putting in the same amount of work to stay married that he did to get married.
Yeah.
And, and he had moved on to his next conquest, his next challenge.
Yeah.
And that hit so hard home for me because I was the same way. It's like, okay, I got married. Okay, well, I had kids. I worked hard with that. Mm-hmm. Now I have to work on my job. And that became my focus. So now with this marriage, I'm working on trying to stay married, just like I worked on trying to get married.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting because I'm super competitive.
Yeah.
Been that way my whole life.
Yeah. I'm a person that I operate with certain procedures. I live by my Google Calendar, and if it's not in my Google Calendar, then it's not going to happen. It's going to get missed. It's going to get forgotten. It's going to get overlooked. And when I was running this big agency, my wife, she would reach out and text me, and she was a school teacher at the time. And, hey, honey, how's your day? And I would get the text, but I was either in a meeting, I was in the middle of a strategy session. I was, because I would show up at the agency 6 a.m. and I would leave 7 p.m. And it was literally balls to the walls the entire time I was there. And, I get home, hang out with the kids, hang out with the wife, and she would say, honey, I text you. How come you didn't respond? I said, oh, babe, I was just so busy. I'm sorry. But I love you, though, and I love getting them from you. And this happened a few times. Yeah. Until one day, I came home and she said it. And all of a sudden, I realized what a dick I was. Because I was trying to justify by minimizing what she was missing. And it wasn't the text that was important to her. It's the fact that I was so all in on this job that it now made her feel like she didn't matter.
Yeah, less than.
And I said, okay, this is something I need to fix because I sure as hell don't want to be the point of pain for my wife, right? So I need to take ownership that what I'm doing right now is making her feel this way, and that's reality. Intent doesn't matter. What matters is how I made her feel. And I'll be damned if I'm going to be that cause. So I went in to my Google Calendar because I had to find a way to make it work, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I didn't, and it's not going to work by continually apologizing because if you keep apologizing and you keep repeating the same shit, you're not really sorry. You're just trying to short-term mitigate the problem to get her to shut up. And that's not a long-term solution. So what I did is I went into my Google Calendar, and Monday through Friday, I went mid-morning, varying times, and I put in there, text your wife. Tell you love her. Then in the afternoons, mid-afternoon, I would do another at varying times, say text your wife, ask her how her day is. And so no matter what I was doing, what meeting I was in, didn't matter. As soon as I got that notification, I text my wife. What happened was she stopped complaining.
Yeah.
Because I now found a way, I took responsibility for my actions, and I found a way to make her feel important to me. Now, it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years later where she heard me talk about this in my podcast. She goes, I had no idea. And I said, does it cheapen it? She goes, actually not, because you did what you needed to do in your way.
Right.
Without me even asking. She goes, that makes me feel so warm because you found a way to make it work. I said, the fact that it was systematic didn't matter. She goes, no, I love that because I know that's how you operate. So what I learned, and the reason why I took the initiative to do that for myself, is one of the lessons after really looking at my life and auditing where I was after the divorce of my second wife, who I have my first two kids with, is how did the marriage of 8-9 years end up in divorce? And there are a lot of little symptoms, right, that just build up over time. And I was looking at one of my relationships I was in that we were newly dating, and it's exciting, it's fresh, it's new, it's everything is amazing, and you look forward to talking to them and hearing from them, right? This little cat and mouse game we play.
Yeah.
And I realized, this one I was like, oh my God, I'm amazed that she even wants to be with me. Like, she's a 10, I feel like I'm a 4 right now. Like, it was just, you sure as hell don't ever want to cause any rift in that. You don't want to lose that.
Right.
And it was after that relationship had ended, surprisingly, and I was again figuring out, auditing myself, and I had come across this book that was called The 5 Love Languages.
Great book.
And again, they had written one for singles years later, but it was really written to help people that were currently married better understand each other. It's like the Rosetta Stone for marriage, because one person speaking English, one person speaking Italian, nobody's really understanding what each other's saying and wanting. So I went, you know what? And I don't know about you, but I've been to a lot of marriage seminars and I've spoken at some over the years. And I said, everybody talks about the work of marriage, but nobody really talks about the practicality of what that work actually is. And, you talk about getting married, but then what happens after you're married? How do you cultivate that beautiful relationship? And people talk about, I just want things to go back to the way that they were. When what you mean is not the immature people you were at that time, but you want that spark. You want that feeling of importance, right, in somebody's life when career and kids happen. And so this is what I uncovered. And I found this to be true in the thing that I think we miss. When people talk about, well, the marriage just requires work. Well, okay, but then people say that aren't actually doing it, right? They come home from work, they sit down on the couch, they have their dinner, they're the breadwinner, they're the bread maker, and you just expect and hope over time that by just continuing to do that, you're going to become closer, and you're not. And sex isn't the thing that brings you closer either. It's the intimacy and that vulnerability emotionally. So how do you cultivate that? Is you have to go back to where you were with that person when you felt lucky as shit that you were that person in their life. And because you didn't want to do anything to lose that, you wanted to do things to earn that continually, that's what we stopped doing. So what I did is I committed myself that when I met my wife, I still feel this way. She is literally this unicorn. This Sicilian unicorn that somehow I just was out of dumb luck caught her attention. And I never want to lose that. And so from day one, I committed myself that every day I do something in some way that earns her heart, love, and loyalty in a way that matters to her. And by doing that every day, it has always made her feel important, and it's always created this consistent state of empathy that when there is a disagreement, the last thing I want to do is create a rift when I want to earn her heart in some way today. You forgive quicker. And with empathy, you take ownership of the mistakes you made and you quickly mitigate those because you don't want the thing you hold the most precious to ever give room for destruction. Because I learned, this is through personal experience and through observation, that if we don't do this on a daily basis, find some way to earn their heart, love, and loyalty, at some point, someone else will. And it was because of your lack of taking action on a daily basis.
Well, see, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, because a lot of times, that's a perfect segue, because business travelers, like myself and all the other ones, I'm already planning. I'm leaving on Sunday. I'll be in Vegas on Sunday. I come home on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'll be in the Valley. Thursday, I'll be in Bakersfield. I'm already scheduling out my next couple of weeks. But a lot of business travelers don't schedule, like you just explained, how they should treat their spouse, their loved ones. Mm-hmm. I've asked a couple of them. I said, hey, so what do you do They're like, oh, I never really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wish on it, but obviously I'm thinking, get ready, buddy.
Yeah.
You should be.
Mm-hmm.
And if people, and that's what Will Smith said. He said, I'm going to treat my marriage as important now as it was to get married.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
They move on to the next thing, the next project, the next whatever.
Yeah. Nothing in your life that matters is going to grow being left to fend for itself.
Yeah.
A plant won't. A marriage is perishable. Just like being a sharpshooter, being a sniper, it's a perishable skill. You leave a plant outside, even a succulent that doesn't require much maintenance, it's still going to need water at some point. And if you don't give it water, it will die. Yeah. And then you're going to get mad at the plant because it died? Well, shit, you're not the one that fucking watered
it. Do you ever feel, and I don't know if you do, because I know you do some seminars and speaking engagements.
Yeah.
Do you ever do them to colleges?
I love colleges. Yes. I love high school and college. I love that demographic because they are so open and receptive, but they haven't really heard practical tactics in life, how to really succeed. They hear a lot of theology. They tune their parents out because it's their parents. Their teachers are their teachers. But when they can hear real nuggets of wisdom from somebody who's failed, who's succeeded, and who is honest and takes ownership, they listen to that shit.
I think that's, and like I said, I've had some of these talks with my daughters, kind of one-on-one stuff, but I think it's really important to, like you said, it's a practicality of it.
Yeah. Man, I was for my major in college was pre-med. My ambition was to become a forensic pathologist. I was just so intrigued by the cause of death, right? I loved the research. But now in my life, I kind of do that both with myself as an athlete and in business. I love to find out the cause and effect of everything. And what can I do to learn how to be better at who I am and better at everything I do. And I don't do many things. When I was a cyclist, that's all I did. When I became a drummer, it's because I loved drumming and I was all in drumming. And when I became a photographer, that's the one thing I focused. I wasn't a triathlete at that time. I wasn't, bodybuilding at that time. I was honing my craft as a photographer. And, I did that for 15 years. And, the things that I like to give my time to, because I am so competitive. I'm not a triathlete anymore because I know at which I require myself to train, and that would take too much time away from the things that really matter to me now. Yeah. Right? And I don't feel bad about it. Am I as shredded as I was when I was a triathlete? No, hell no. But I love where I am in life, and I loved all the things that I accomplished as a triathlete. But I have different priorities in my life now, and I'm okay with that. And because part of the reason why we deal with so much guilt is we feel as though outside perceptions matter. Well, gosh, if I was a triathlete, I would have so much respect. Respect from who? People that don't even like themselves? Like, I give a shit. Right? I do the things that really I feel as though better my life and better myself for those that are important to me. And that's all. And that should be enough. Because honestly, when we're looking for approval from other people, it's crazy because we're looking for approval from people that don't even approve of themselves. So why would that opinion matter?
And I didn't learn that till, I can tell you, I was in my probably late 40s, 50s. And my wife really was a catalyst for that.
Really?
Because, and that was one of the things that attracted me to her, was I was so worried about what everybody else thought that, I wouldn't wear that. I'm a dad. I'm not supposed to be like that, So I'm doing so many more things, swing dancing and roller skating and doing a lot of fun things that I wouldn't have done before because I didn't think I was supposed to be doing that.
Based on somebody else's opinion and expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
we Dude, I love your stories and your posts about when you and your wife are roller skating. I think that's cool as shit. because I mean, you're living a fulfilled life with your wife.
Yeah. Trying.
But life and the success of it and fulfillment isn't going to come because you won the lottery. It is accumulated over time by the little things that we embrace. Our lives are going to be successful because of the details, and those details are those 35,000 decisions we make every day.
Yeah.
And over time, you begin to build and frame this life that you just enjoy, not because you did one big thing. It's because you embraced all these little things along the way.
Well, it's interesting because like I get smarky remarks and looks from people my age when I'm roller skating.
It's because they're unhappy with who they are and they're jealous.
And I used to care, and now I don't. And a lot of the people that we're hanging out with that are roller skating are literally my daughter's age.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 25. Oh, that's the same age as my daughter. Okay.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's like, got to be happy. I want to stay in shape. I don't want to, get fat and overweight just because I'm supposed to be, because I'm in my 50s now. So,
right. Yeah. I look at guys my age, they look twice my age.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Overweight, balding, just very unhealthy and overstressed, under-rested, and really they're not fulfilled in their life, because they're living according to the framework that others have built based on the expectations that they should be. And, it's why there's such a high suicide rate, unfortunately. It's why there's such a high rate of depression amongst people, because they're living pandering for approval of other people. And they haven't really tapped into who they really are and the things they really want to accomplish in their life and who they really want to be, because it's all by choice. Happiness is people are putting their happiness as a conditional outcome, when happiness is purely by choice, regardless of your conditions. It's hard for people, though, to do that because they have been conditioned to believe that happiness is only because of having certain things. If I had a six-pack, well, most people with a six-pack are grossly unhappy because they have to live such a regimented life to have it. They can't enjoy a lot of the things that others enjoy that don't have a six-pack. And they're so hypercritical of their bodies that even though they have a six-pack, they're criticizing everything else. Yeah. They're not happy because happiness isn't the goal. Fulfillment should be the goal. Happiness comes because you choose it. I have been broke and destitute, and I was happy. I wanted more. I wanted different. And if I really wanted more, then I had to put in the work to get there. But I was still happy. Was struggling, sweating, paying bills. And there was a point where my gas was shut off, my water was shut off, and I had no cable, and I had no pantry, or I had no food in my fridge and my pantry. My dogs had food. That was my darkest point in my life.
I remember, before my first daughter was born, coming back from the grocery store, and I had to walk because I didn't want to spend the money, gas money, to go to the store. And I was in between jobs, and I had just moved to the Bay Area and all that. And a fucking homeless guy came up to me, asked me for money. I'm like, dude, even if I wanted to, I can't give it to you. I go, I literally don't have it. I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Like, we were at the grocery store looking at, like, okay, well, that's going to be 84 cents with tax. It's 93 cents. Okay, I'll take that. It was literally counting out the money.
Yeah.
But I went, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because, like I said, that's what my daughters look at me and go, oh, you got the car, you got, you live by the beach and you're doing this. Like, yeah, but I didn't grow up in that.
Yeah.
It's like, let me show you some of the crappy things that went on in my life. Because, like I said, they see the social media and they see their friends. Oh, my friends are, yeah, but it's not real.
Well, look at, and unfortunate, the pastor of this church who struggled with depression and was a big proponent of getting help and all that, committed suicide.
Yeah.
Beautiful wife, beautiful kid, and it for whatever reason just came to a point when he just had enough. You know, I grew up. My parents were middle class in Dallas, and back when the market crashed with the S&L scandal, they had adjustable rate mortgage, and they had to walk away from this house we lived in for about 2 years, brand new house they built. And my parents walked away from these jobs. They literally, like my dad put it for sale by owner sign in front of the house, and then we moved. Didn't even sell it. Just walked away from it.
Yeah.
And my high school years, we were literally broke. We were poor. Literally, like, I ate so many pinto beans, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
And I remember watching my mom put more water into that pot of beans. I'm talking broke. Now, I had my bike, I had my desk, I had my room, I had my world, right? And that's what I enjoyed. I didn't really see the suffering of my parents. I just knew that we lived in this really super tiny house. We had really shitty cars, and we didn't really go out to eat anymore. But that was all that I knew, right? But the thing that it was my biggest crutch is my parents were always surviving. I didn't really have this beacon in my life or even a push to desire for more. So for the longest time, I felt guilty, partly because of the religious upbringing, that wanting success and wanting to have money was actually a sin. But that was a bad thing. And it wasn't really until probably about 10 to 12 years ago where I just put the middle finger up to so many of those beliefs and walked away from it and realized it was limiting and self-destructive.
Well, I've always said, money doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
I think money amplifies. It can amplify you. So if you're a good person, if you get money, it can make you a better person, or you can help other people be better people.
It helps you do more.
And so if you're a bad person, you get money, you're going to become a worse person. Or it can allow you to do that. But it's not the money itself that makes you a bad person.
It's that you're just a shitty person.
Exactly. And now you can be more exposed because you have more money and be a shittier person.
Social media, money, power, and you see this in churches, and you also see this in the workplace. There are so many people that are in management that have no skill set to be a real leader. They're a boss. They're a dictator. And it exposes that ego and insecurity that they love being able to have power over people, not lead them. So they treat people like shit, like they're your indentured servant because you could fire them.
Yeah.
Or you can write them up. Well, that's the wrong person in that position. And too many companies promote people to positions of influence based on performance and not leadership. And it's a real big, and it's what drives people away because they've shown that if you're a star performer, and even though you're a shitty person, what matters to us more is money. And that's why cultures fall apart and they have huge turnover.
Well, I had salespeople that were my number one salesperson in an old industry I was in cabinets. He would have been the worst sales manager in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Completely narcissistic, didn't give a shit about the company. He just cared about his commission, which made him a great sales rep.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what you want. You want somebody that cares about making money when they're commissioned. But as far as being a leader,
one person is toxic in the rest of the environment or the sales team,
the
sales team is not going to go all in for a company that when they realize when you have ethics and morals, and you might come at sales a little bit different way, but the dickhead gets all the accolades and all the rewards and all the money. Well, clearly being a dick is what the company wants. Well, that's when you're going to lose your good people.
That's right. And you got to cut the cancers out.
Yeah.
Cancer's cancer. You know what I mean?
And it may not be short term in the results, but over time you're going to lose your good people. Then you're going to start to realize.
And you won't get the good people. The good people. Our industry is really small. I'm in the Western clothing, apparel, footwear business now, and it's a small world.
Yeah.
There's maybe a dozen big size companies,
Mm-hmm.
and then, a couple dozen smaller ones. But if you're a bad guy, bad person, you be a bad girl, but you're going to be found out.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was a company that had approached me about helping them with some marketing, big sales driven company. And so, I wanted to really get a feel for where they were, looked at their P&L, looked at the numbers, what they were doing, what their returns are. And I looked at their people. I looked at their customer service department, and I looked at their sales, their business development team. And after really doing the thorough research, I went to the CEO and I said, look, you don't need to hire us. What you have going on right now is actually doing it for you. What's killing your business is your poor customer service and your shitty salespeople.
Yeah.
I said, so that's where you need to spend your money. I said, because the ones that are actually dealing with your customers are treating them like they don't matter. And then the ones trying to drive business in here have no skill set in really selling with empathy. And there's so much turmoil within the team, it's toxic. That's why you're getting slow declines, because your morale is shit.
Yeah.
A new marketing strategy, new ad campaign is not going to fix that. It's only going to scale your current problem. And I tell businesses all the time, if you hire us, we're going to scale your business. But what's going to happen is we're also going to scale your problems right along with it until you fix your internal processes that are broken.
That's funny. It seems so basic, doesn't it? But yet so difficult.
It's because they're so close, Pete, and they haven't seen over time the weeds that have grown up, because the weeds look so much like their grass.
Good. I like that one too.
I do want to answer something that you asked me a little bit earlier about, with people that travel in their workplace and, how that can affect the relationship. The thing that I always advise people to encourage them is they wonder, well, how can I do that if I'm traveling so much? Well, the best way to know what your partner really wants is to look at how they express their love to you, because people express their love in the way they want to be loved in return. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's the best. Exactly.
So if your partners, will call you in the morning, and let's say, you're getting ready and you skip the call them back. Ask them how their morning is, what's up, what's going on in their day, and actually show interest in your partner's life. Just because you might have some big fancy job doesn't mean that your life is more important than your spouse.
Right.
Because what they're doing is helping to take care of the place that's your safe space. And that shit is fucking important. So it doesn't matter how much.
That's exactly why I wanted you on the podcast, because I really think a lot of my business travelers and even my friends that I haven't had on my podcast, but they travel for work because I know them personally. Mm-hmm. That's where they're missing out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so important.
The saddest thing is this: if their wife, doing whatever their wives do, were to treat them and talk to them the way that they treat and talk to their wives, they would be pissed.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm not important? What do you mean that what I do is not that important?
Yeah.
By action, that's how they're making their spouses feel, by not attending to their needs. And why the fuck would you want to minimize the one person that is stuck by your crazy, hairy, stinky ass as long as they have? And you're going to minimize that shit?
A lot of the successful people that I've talked to on the show, Casey Patterson, I just spoke with a few weeks ago, so it's really fresh for me. He's the number one ranked beach volleyball player right now on the AVP tour. He's in Hawaii. They're competing this weekend in the championship weekend, but he's all in for his wife. And and they have 4 kids, and he's traveling. He did 100,000 miles of traveling this summer. Mm-hmm. Just for volleyball.
Yeah.
And he goes, but my wife, he can't say enough nice things about her mm-hmm. and what she has to do and what she puts up with and how appreciative he is of her. And so it seems like the people that have kind of figured that out are doing better for themselves.
Part of the reason why people end up in that position, Pete, is they lost their sense of empathy when they were hurt, and they didn't deal with it, and they didn't communicate about it. So it became this little bitty tiny separation that over time grew into this huge wedge, and now they're living with resentment. And so they're blaming their spouse for all these things because they're refusing to admit the fact that it was actually because of their own doing and not their spouse.
Well, like you said, I mean, and I'm definitely not going to get into politics. I will say the victim mentality that you talked about earlier, it's the same thing.
So it's toxic.
Yeah, it's toxic. Instead of being grateful for what you have, you're blaming other people for what you don't have.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the motivational speakers and all that always say things like, "You are the 5 people you surround yourself with."
100%. Yeah.
And I think you have to be aware of what you're. It's they don't use the term that much anymore. But when I was growing up and computers were still a new thing, it was called GIGO.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
And
it's attention. It's our greatest commodity, our attention.
Yeah.
You know, I ran across these 3 high school kids at a friend of mine's business, retail place, and they kept walking in, and they were arguing over something that they were, you know, what they should buy. And I'm just sitting there laughing, and just out of the blue, I said, "Hey guys, let me ask you 3. Who wants to be a millionaire?" They all raised their hand. I said, "When do you want to be a millionaire?" One kid goes, "I want to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30." I said, "Do you think bickering over some little $2 purchase is ever going to get you to become a millionaire?"
Yeah, do you think that's what millionaires do?
Yeah. And I said, who loves who loves gaming? Do you guys stream gaming? Oh yeah, man, dude, like it's awesome. I'm like, okay, so is that going to get you to become a millionaire by the time you're 30?
It could.
It could.
If they're in Twitch or, you know, if they invent the next app, but likelihood not.
Right. But if you're doing that, are you looking at it as a strategy to actually become a professional gamer, or are you just playing the game?
Or are you just killing time? Yeah.
And you're just killing time and wasting your day.
Yeah.
And I said, so what do you want to do to become a millionaire? One guy goes, well, I want to own my own business. Well, what kind of business? I don't know yet. Well, what you're doing right now is going to determine if you're going to be a millionaire by the time you're 30. And right now, you're wasting your attention on shit that doesn't matter.
At all. How come you? Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Where did you learn all this? Meaning, my dad was very practical, you know. And my dad was very sarcastic, cut and dry, very competitive. So I know I got some of that from him. But where do you think you got some of this from?
I got it from the shitty environment I grew up in, and I got it from duplicating shitty decisions because of it until I got so fed up with my shitty outcomes. I, wasn't raised with, going to seminars or things like that. I went to a lot of them. But again, when I went to a lot of these motivational seminars, I was looking for the practical nuggets they promised, the secret, but all the secret was to buy their book up in the front lobby. That even in the book didn't uncover any real secret. It was all fluff. And I needed shit I could sink my teeth into. And I realized I needed to stop listening to all these people that were giving away secrets that didn't exist. I needed to look at my life, take an account for where I am, and figure out how to make a difference. It's literally, man, I'm telling you, I have been auditing myself every single day as an athlete since I was 12, 13 years old.
Sure.
Then when it hit my life in the greater umbrella of life itself and the relationships and who I am, it's until I took that perspective and put it practically in my life that I wasn't really seeing a difference. And that really only happened beginning about 15 years ago.
Do you?
It's been hard knocks, man. It's been literally the most practical path for me is learning by falling flat on my face every time.
Do you think people? I guess I'm trying to figure out. I had a friend like tell me this story, and I think I even read it in a book. It's like, as an adult now in my 50s, I've traveled the roads, and I know where some of the cliffs are. I know where some of the creeks are, and I know where the bridges are to go around them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to show my kids where those bridges are. I'm like, no, don't go that way. I'm telling you, I've been down that road. There's a big creek. You're not going to cross it. You're going to have to double back and then go find the bridge. I'm telling you where the bridge is.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids still go, I think you're wrong, old man. I'm going to go see what's over there.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, so do you think, is there any teaching that we can do to younger people so they don't have to fall off the cliff? You know what I mean?
No, because
exactly.
They're going to have to fall off the cliffs.
Yeah.
What we as parents need to help them do is recover and look at those falling off the cliffs as opportunity to become better and wiser. It's all relevant to our own journeys, and we're all going to pursue the things that we believe we want to pursue. What we as parents need to help them do is not live a life predicated on the fears we want them to avoid. We need to help raise them to be cognizant, and resourceful enough that no matter what happens, they're going to come out better. And to not live a life that is pandering for approval from other people.
Yeah.
Not to be a dick, not this whole live your own truth, but it is a level of respect for themselves enough that we can help them become better at how they fail and to not be afraid to fail in the first place.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is teaching, gratitude for what you have.
Yes.
I think that's where a lot of that comes from. Hey, so when you're traveling, and like I know you're come out to California and you've been out here quite a bit.
Yeah.
How do you, how do you juggle being away from the family?
It sucks, man. I love my family time. I love being with my wife. I love being with my kids. So, what I do is to make sure that, in the evening at 6 p.m., my phone goes up, my devices go up. I'm present with my kids, but there are times, and then, have family time and have dinner and hang out and all that. And then when everybody goes to bed, I go back to work. So I compartmentalize my day to make sure that I'm able to focus. It's just like during my work day. I have certain periods of my day that I focus on certain things so that I remain productive. And so I give myself an hour to do, research on a particular project, or if I need to do follow-up on, 4 different things. And then where am I the strongest when it comes to creative versus where am I strongest when it comes to logistics and processes?
Organization,
And so I organize my day based on when I'm really strongest mentally. And with each compartment, I can, there's like when I'm doing my podcast or I'm doing research or I'm doing follow-up or whatever I'm doing, I make sure that I'm not distracted to where I turn off notifications on my phone so that when I get a text or an email, it'll be there when I'm done in an hour.
Yeah. So you're not stopping in the middle of what you're doing.
Right. So,
so
I'm able to focus and give undivided attention to the things that matter that's right in front of me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so my family gets the same thing. Like in the morning, I love my time with my wife. We get up and, I start my day in the same way that starts my momentum. And I get the kids up and get them to school, come home and sit down and have coffee and talk and hang out with my wife and our little newborn. And have that time and then get ready and then hit the ground running when it comes to the work day. And then at 6 p.m., by routine, it's, we get the kids from school, come back, and then they've got homework and chores, and then, I've got to finish the things that I need to finish, and at 6 p.m. it's family time. And I focus on them. So by being able to be consistent, I'm also dependable. I'm always following through and delivering based on the things through the workday just as much as my family is able to depend on me. And if anything is falling through the cracks or somebody's not getting enough of something, then I figure out what do I need to do to fix that, because that's on me.
Well, when you're traveling, you're such an organized person. I'm really interested to hear the answer to this. What do you listen to when you're trying to fill time? When you're on an airplane for 3 hours, are you listening to music? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you watching a movie? Are you doing computer work?
I usually watch a movie that's typically going to be a documentary, about something, about, challenges and stuff, because those things actually, and then I write notes. I write notes based on a thought that may come to mind of something that is really relevant in someone's life that I just cross paths with that could really help them, or something that I'm, researching through. Because when we're focused on something, our reticular activator is at its prime. And that reticular activator, for people to understand what that is, if, let's say, you go on a diet, all of a sudden now every billboard and TV commercial is food.
Yeah.
Well, those have always been there. Your reticular activator now, because it's important to you, now it's all you see. If you, all of a sudden you start, saying you want to buy a Rolls Royce, you start noticing a lot of Rolls Royces now. They've always been there. You just didn't notice them because they weren't important to you. It wasn't at the forefront, right? So when I'm working through things, and I always am, I'm always auditing myself. I'm always looking for some, new statement that can really help me get through the next struggle. Is I'm taking notes based off of a story or something that I heard, or a book that I always have a book, and I have a couple of different magazines I always get in the airport, and I'm just always taking notes of something that's going to be a practical takeaway that can help me, and if it helps me, I know it can help other people.
Yeah.
So I'm always watching documentaries. I'm always watching shows about overcomers and really great comeback stories. Because what I look at is not the emotion. I look at what were the practical things they did. So that's what I love about interviews. You get to learn about what other people do. So
absolutely,
my downtime is I love to learn about other people's processes of overcoming challenges, because we're all going to approach things differently. And then I look at my own life and things that I'm able to actually use that I didn't realize were so relevant at the time. So, because our own journey and the journeys of others, everybody overcomes things every single day. I tell people when they get so down about their life and they feel like they're going nowhere, or they're so incapable, things are so hopeless, I say, wait a minute. I want you to think right now of 3 big things that you had to overcome in your life and in your past. Think about that for a moment. Think about the emotion of how hard that was. And I want you to accept the fact that right now, you're standing right here, right now, in this very moment, and you came through all 3 of those things. That shows you that you're a lot stronger than what you realize, because you had the muster and be resourceful enough to figure out how to get through that shit. And you figured it out, and you're here today as proof. So don't look at yourself as incapable because the challenge in front of you is so big. Realize you're stronger than what you know, because you came through everything up to this point, and it was doing nothing more than preparing yourself for the next struggle you face. Now be proud of yourself. Now you're not hopeless. Now you believe that you're actually more capable than you realized.
There you go.
Whether it's business, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a personal goal, whatever. We've all overcome so many things in our lives. Yeah, we've been broken up with, we've been dumped, or we've been cheated on, or we've cheated on, or whatever it may be. Well, you came through all of it to this point. Your business may be tanking, but you know what? The world's not over. Money can be made, but happiness is still a choice. Don't look at yourself as one that you're incapable strictly because you've made some mistakes. You needed to make mistakes. Without those mistakes, you're not going to have lessons. Without those lessons, you're not going to gain wisdom. Because until you gain wisdom, all you know is theology. That's why college graduates are really worthless. All they know is ideas. They have 0 practical metrics of things they've fixed and problems they've solved. So until then, you're all just ideas.
And that's why they have parents too.
Right. That they don't listen to.
both my daughters were in college when Trump got elected, and college is a weird place to be when a conservative wins.
Yeah.
And my one daughter was at Towson University back in Baltimore, Maryland, which is 95% liberal or Democratic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she called. She said, "Man, it's getting bad. They're talking about staging protests and sitting out of class." I go, "Ho, ho, 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 ho." So for one, you ain't sitting out of any classes.
Yeah.
Because they're not paying for your college. I am.
Yep.
I go, Mikhail, I've been through several of these now, presidential elections. 99% of the people in the world tomorrow are going to wake up and go to work tomorrow.
Yep.
You know why? Because they have to. It doesn't matter if it's Clinton, Obama, McCain, Reagan, Carter, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
You got to wake up and go to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, let them. People are going to be upset, and I know your campus is going to be unsettled. That's because they don't have to wake up and go to work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They have to wake up and think about going to class or not going to class.
Mm-hmm.
Or most people have to go to work tomorrow because they have to pay their bills because the landlord doesn't care if you don't like Trump or not.
Mm-hmm.
So, talking about off the cliff a little bit about how bad it is, I'm like, you'll be fine. So.
Everything
weird.
in life, if you knew that tomorrow, unless you did everything you could today, you would lose your job tomorrow, you would lose your wife tomorrow, you would lose your family tomorrow, you would lose your business tomorrow, based on what you did today, it would ignite a tremendously different sense of urgency in how people operated mentally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is the only approach you should have if you really want to succeed, is if it could be yanked from you tomorrow based on what you do today.
That's interesting. Yeah, because a lot of people go, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yep.
I'll work out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
There's no sense of urgency, and there's a much greater sense of entitlement. You deserve all these things strictly because you want it. Well, it doesn't work that way. We all want a lifelong partner and a fulfilling marriage, but unless you're going to put in the work to get it, you're not going to have it. You didn't earn it, so why be rewarded with it? Your unhappiness is because of the series of decisions you made, both in how you acted and how you reacted.
Or conversely, your happiness is because of the things you've decided.
100%.
I think a lot of people do self-sabotage. And I'm 52. I've had many, 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 many crappy jobs in my life, and right now I have a very, very good job. Yeah. And I love when people go, God, you're so lucky. And I go, yeah, you know what? Sure, but that's how I don't disagree with them. I don't try to correct people's mentality in person like that. But I know, I go, I want to go, 10 years ago, no one was calling me lucky when I was looking for a fucking job. Yeah. No one was calling me lucky when I was leaving the grocery store with enough money to buy some, literally some beans and stuff, and telling homeless people I didn't have any money on me. Yeah. No one was going, God, Pete, you're so lucky. Mm-hmm. You're so lucky you get to be hungry tonight. So yeah, I am accepting of my good job right now because of all the bad jobs I've had. Yeah. And that's I think a lot of people self-sabotage themselves. Oh, you're right. Maybe I don't deserve this job. I don't deserve to make that much money. I don't,
when you show up and you know that you're putting in the work every day, you enjoy the spoils of war. Right. Because you earned it. There are so many races that I won because even though I gave half effort, because there just wasn't the competition, I'm not proud of those awards and those trophies. Right. There are some races that I didn't even win, but I finished and it took everything I had. I loved that number from that race day. Right. Because it reminds me of the capability I have, that I'm able to finish even when everything about my body wants to fucking quit. Yeah. And I finished, I did what it took, because I knew that finish line that day started 5 years before, when I was 150 pounds overweight and I couldn't even jog to the end of the street without needing a side stitch and wanting to pass out. But now they look at you and go, you're so lucky. Yeah. Oh, you're so lucky to be ripped and buff and in shape. Like, yeah. Well, sure. It must be really cool to own your own business. Yeah. I wish I could do that. Well, it's funny because, I see you going to the clubs all the time. I see you, video game streaming. And I see you going out with the boys two or three times a week, getting drunk. how is that helping you be more successful? Because you can't do that shit if you want to own your own business and actually succeed at it. I mean, 50% of the small businesses will be out of business in 5 years.
Well, that even like podcast. I just saw an article about pod fade.
Yeah.
People that fade out from podcast. I think it was like the pod fade was like the average episode was like 7 episodes.
Yeah.
And it was like 14 months.
Yeah.
The average length of a podcast show.
Yeah. Yep.
I was just
It's
like,
crazy. My $35K a day platform began first. It was called I Decide. And it was about a poem that I woke up and I wrote just about that journey of being an athlete and what that drive is really like. Because people, I was the only athlete in my family. Nobody really got where I got that drive. Nobody really understood why that appealed to me. And when I became a triathlete, that just blew everybody's minds. And this was before it was popular. This was, late 90s when I got into it. And it whether you're, a triathlete, you're a bodybuilder, you're a marathon runner, you're a professional volleyball player, you're a UFC fighter, from the outside, people don't quite get what really drives people to do that every day, right? And it's hard for that athlete to really articulate and explain. But it comes down to one thing. I decide to. That's it. It's strictly a choice. And I started putting out quotes that I write myself in my journals, because I don't write, today was shitty and, Adam was a dick, and I don't do that. I write things down that come to mind that either help me at the moment or will help me later. And it's things that just from reading and listening, and I start to form my own quotes, and I write these down for myself. And they're all first person. So I'm like, well, I decide is first person, which immediately is going to help people change the narrative internally. Because everybody's like, I can't, I hate this about myself, I don't want to, I don't have, I wish I had. It's I. Well, if I say you decide, well, that's not going to help their internal narrative be reframed, because nobody likes to be told what to do. So I started taking all of my quotes and I started making them as a little graph, a little creative on Facebook. And I took the poem and put it next to a photo and made a poster for Facebook, and it tagged all my athlete friends. Oh my God, MD, where can I get that poster? Well, shit, it's not a poster. It was just a post. So a lot of people wanted to buy one, so I made a post. I sold a bunch of posters. And but the quotes I started to put out had really nothing to do with athletics. It had everything to do about internal drive and accountability. And they started to get shared a lot. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is crazy. And so I began to post more and more. And then one day I'm like, you know what? The words I decide really matter to me. Like it's a great reminder. So I got some silicone wristbands. I got 25 of them, and I had I decide put on them, and I gave them to a few friends. And I posted it with my hand on my steering wheel, and just said, "Have a great day, guys. It's your choice." Oh my God, MD, where can I get that wristband? Oh shit. Maybe I should buy some and sell them. So I did a website, and I did a T-shirt and then wristbands, and I did wristbands, in pairs, because I kept finding myself crossing paths with people in the grocery store, at the airport, at a client's business, that would open up with this incredible story of overcoming cancer or some crazy struggle they're dealing with in life. And I'm like, you know what? Let me give you this wristband. May this be a reminder that every time you see these words, I decide, it reminds you how powerful you are, that no matter what your condition may be, whatever your circumstance, you're stronger. And I sold thousands of these worldwide. Over the course of about 2 years, that website had over 2 million visitors. And I don't know how many wristbands and T-shirts that I sold that me and my kids were packaging and shipping every day. It was crazy. But I had somebody write a letter to me. Well, not to me, to I Decide, because I Decide had nothing to do with me. And it was really about the person that's reading those words for themselves. And so it wasn't about me. It wasn't my face. I didn't have a podcast. I didn't have anything like that, because I wanted it to be about the person that's reading it. And this person emailed I Decide on the website and shared this long story that still gets me choked up to this day. And they found themselves in this crack house, this drug house, nearly beaten to death. They called their sister to come get her. The sister was at her wit's end, like, this is the last time I'm helping you.
Yeah.
The girl didn't know where her daughter was. Like, it was a crazy scenario. And she was at her sister's house, and she was in the bathroom, and she was going to slice her wrist. And on that vanity was an I Decide wristband. And it for some reason, whatever, it connected with her to where she picked it up and she looked like, what is this? And on the inside of the wristband, I had the website. She picked up her phone and she went to the website. And then there was a link to the Instagram. And she saw all these quotes. And she just kept reading them over and over again all night long until the morning. And she went and she asked her sister, where did you get this wristband? It's like, oh my gosh, like I bought them off this website, like one of my favorite quotes. And she goes, it's over on my desk. And she had the quote that, it's getting me choked up, that's tattooed down my spine. And it was a quote that I wrote in my journal in a period of time when I was in Nigeria, and I did not think I was going to make it home. And I was hopeless. And I didn't have anything to say. I had nothing to write. And I sat there in fear of my life and accepting the fact that I was going to die. My kids were not going to have their dad anymore. And after about an hour of sulking, I wrote this quote down. And I opened my journal up several months later, and I came across that quote, and I realized that is the mantra of my life and the life of every single person who's overcome anything. And that quote on that sister's desk was these words. And there, when all else fails, I won't. That wristband saved that girl's life. She was writing me this, I Decide, this email when she was in rehab. She goes, I've been in rehab, I can't remember how many times, but this time it's going to stick because I decide. I'm not going to be a victim. I decide to make my life better for me and for my daughter. It's my choice. Thank you. And that quote became one of the most shared. I never trademarked it. I never did anything because it's a quote that everyone should own for themselves. Yeah. Because when shit gets hard, you end up broke, you end up destitute for a myriad of bad decisions or just bad conditions in life came against you. That it's at that very moment when you're given this chance to see just how strong you are by saying, when all else fails, people will fail you. Life will not go your way, but don't fail yourself. And it's what created 35K a day when I realized, you know what, I'm going to get in front of this thing and I'm going to start to share this message because it's a message that people aren't really being given. There's a lot of fluff. There's a lot of motivation, but motivation is short term. Motivation is only supposed to get you started. Discipline keeps you going. But nobody talks about the discipline, the things that we need to get along the way, and why when we start anything, it's supposed to get hard. Well, how do we overcome those challenges when it's tough? Well, that's what this message of 35K a day is about. And that quote of when all else fails, I won't, is therefore. When you face that obstacle, when you face that moment in life when it seems like everything is for naught, all of that is actually for you. It's a blessing. It's to give you an opportunity to go, I'm stronger than all of this. Watch this. That's what it was really about. And I just, with podcasts and so much motivation out there, we become hoarders of motivation. I wanted to really help share how I live and how I think and what has really driven me to overcome a lot of things that some people would say, gosh, that would have cratered most people. But why didn't it crater me? Because I looked at it as a statement of being absolutely resolute. You may not like your boss. Okay, find a job with a different boss. If you don't like the outcomes in your life, then make different decisions. Put different things in place that are going to get you to where you want to go. But I'm not going to sit back and passively be a victim to conditions and people.
Right.
Because that certainly didn't create the life that I really, truly wanted inside. And it didn't allow me to really become the person I knew inside I was, but I needed to peel back the layers that had been wrapped over me over time that I had allowed and enabled. So this whole thing with 35K a day and, where it started as I Decide has been so beneficial for me personally in my own life in creating a life that I'm truly proud of, because I don't look at life as trying to avoid mistakes and avoid failures and avoid hardship. That's just going to happen regardless. I now realized how to approach those things to where they don't hold me back and they don't keep me down, because they're not supposed to. It's like a bodybuilder going into the gym. You see all these weights. Those weights are there to help you get stronger. They're not there to show you how weak you are. But that's how we approach life.
Yeah. Especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, no, I know my listeners are going to enjoy listening to this show, and I honestly want to talk to you again at some point in the future. Whether you have a book come out or something comes up, and we have an excuse to talk again. It would be awesome.
Absolutely, man.
That's for me, the strength of the podcast platform is the whole reason I started the podcast. In reality, is I have the ability with this show to potentially affect people around the world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So I used to coach sports. I coached my daughters in soccer. I coached in lacrosse. I coached 2 years of football before my girls were born, and I was able to affect, hopefully, positively, some 30 to 40 people at a time, right?
Yeah.
But within a certain geographic, and I look at the podcast, like I'm going to share this story with potentially thousands of people around the world now.
Mm-hmm.
And your story that you just shared could potentially affect somebody in Japan or Barbados or Brazil.
Yeah.
I look at I don't look at my listener counts as much as I look at my demographics, my geolocator, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm in like 45 countries have now listened to my show.
It's so humbling, isn't it? It's just
I'm just a schmuck sitting in my house, being thankful that people want to talk to me.
Yeah.
But that's what that blows me away more than any other stat. It doesn't matter about downloads and views and listens, and I'm like, there are people in Russia that have heard my show.
Yeah.
And people in France. It's like, what?
You know what I love about Instagram? And, I call it the gratitude rule. With 35K a day on Instagram, anytime somebody likes a post, I send them a message and thank them.
Yeah.
Every single person. And every single person that follows that page, I go check them out. And if I love what they're doing, or I love some of their posts, I like them, I comment, and I send them a message. Thank you so much for following. Like, this means a lot. Because that allows us to connect with people that may never meet. But they somehow went, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting it out there that I could come across this. I'm always humbled by it. And, man, when people share stuff, it's like such a huge high five.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool enough that, number one, I want to stay in touch and I want to follow, but I want to share what you said to those that I know. Oh my God.
Yeah. I literally find myself, and I'm trying not to, because I've been very fortunate enough to talk to some great people now.
Mm-hmm.
You're my 61st interview.
That's amazing.
and some of the people are, I'm trying to think. I don't want to say all, but I want to say 99% of them, because I can't think of the bad one, but I'm sure there's one out there. But they've all given something. For one, the number one thing you gave me today was your time. Yeah. Because that's the one thing you can't get back. You can always get money, right. You can get this and that, but so I really appreciate you spending this much time with me and sharing your stories. It's been awesome.
You know what, Pete? The thing that I always value most is in this space, when it comes to empowerment, if a post today helps just one person, it was absolutely worth every amount of attention I could give to it.
Totally agree, man. That like I was part of the problem. I used to complain. Social media can be a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it is whatever you make out of it. I mean, if you're following, celebrities for to want to be like them, then that's what you're going to get out of it. You kind of get out of it whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at social media. I mean, you can follow idiots or you can follow good people.
I always encourage people, because we're in such a time of, hoarders of motivation, with all the motivational posts. And, it kind of started with the whole teamwork posters in offices.
Yeah, I remember those.
Success, and it's people in a rowboat, whatever. People love to they love to share a quote all the time, but it's as if they're pandering the approval that, that person's so positive. And they could be the most miserable. They're just trying to project this aura of positivity by hoarding posts and reposting. What I advise people is take 3 quotes or 3 things that you come across that really resonate. Shut down looking at anything else for the next 30 days and put those things to practical application in your life to make a difference. And don't look at anything else. And work on putting those 3 things into work for your life for 30 days and see what kind of difference that doesn't make. Because rather than, posting quotes that you want to show people how positive you are, use them to actually make a difference in your life. That's the point.
Well,
you might as well take a screenshot and tape them to your wall. Ooh, you're so positive.
Yeah.
But
I hear you.
But that's the practical part of where, again, I really try to get people, even with 35K, if you're listening to the podcast, that's great. And I love it when you rate, you review, you share. But how can you apply it to your life to make a difference? Whether it's me, whether it's whoever out there. But my quotes come from my journal. They come from my thoughts. Unlike some, they steal. One of my quotes, the one all else fails I won't, was used by a very famous positive motivational person as their own quote. And again, I did trademark it, but it's sad when somebody at that level doesn't give credit to the original thought leader. But if people want to use it and put it on themselves, I don't care. There's so many I decide tattoos out there that people message, hey, would you mind if I had this tattoo? It's amazing. Do something with your stuff. Yeah. Put it to work, because that's the only way you're going to see a difference in your life.
I agree. All right, but hey, what's the best way for my listeners to follow up and find you?
35K a day on Instagram. And there's also a Facebook page. Instagram, I do it myself. I manage it myself. It's all me. And the podcast, 35K a day on, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, all the platforms you love, to where I put out maybe an episode a week. But I only post and put out podcast episodes when I really feel like there's something of value I want to share. So it's not every day. The stories on 35K will be a mix of my thoughts and podcasts and my kids, my family, and then other things that I want to share that I think people should really give a little bit of attention to that can help them, in a practical way. But that's the best way for people to come across where I am personally. And if they have a question or have anything they want to share, that would be the place to do it.
Perfect. I'll make sure I put that on the website and put it in the post and all that. That way people can reach out and talk to you. And I know for a fact that you talk back to people. That's how we
absolutely,
that's how we
man. It always surprises me when I hear people, they'll send me a DM and, oh my God, I had no idea you would actually respond and actually say my name. Because when I go to their profile and I try to find what their name is, I'm not going to say, hi, James 320147, hey John, what's going on? Thank you so much, man. Like, we're human. Be human.
Yeah.
Take a minute to connect and realize who these people are. And look, I'm like you, man. I'm like, hey, I'm just a guy, business owner with a family, just trying to make his way. I don't sit here like I'm some huge whatever. So it always blows me away that people look at me and they go, man, I had no idea you would actually respond. Dude, I'm just like you, man. Just like you.
But one of the bigger questions I've been getting lately with my friends, like people that know me, that knew me before the podcast, are like, how are you getting these people?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I go, dude, I don't know. I'm just asking them. And some say yes.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter, my youngest daughter, has had some very cool jobs. Her first job ever out of her whole life was working as a social media intern for Jared Leto. The actor, singer.
I remember you telling me. That's amazing.
Yeah. And everyone's like, how did she get that job? Who'd you know? And I go, dude, she just applied.
Yeah.
She literally, they put it out on on their Facebook page looking for a social media intern. She applied. She interviewed. She got the job.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of that simple. Like, so many people make it such a big deal. You know, or they're a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I'm not going to apply. They would never hire me. You know,
Right.
Meryl Davis would never be on my podcast. You know, gold medal Olympian. You know, and she's sweet as pie. I mean,
yeah.
So
one of the, you know, for me, one of the people that I actually want to sit down with for my 35K a day podcast is Lance Armstrong.
Oh yeah, because you're a cyclist.
I was a cyclist, and yes, and you know, as a cyclist, I understood where that whole sport was at that time.
Yeah.
But what matters to me most is I don't give a shit about taking steroids. I could care less. The whole sport was doing it, right? It equalized everybody. But what I want to sit down and talk to Lance about is, you know, you went from the top, and then you were ripped to shreds.
In almost every way.
Yeah. How were you able to, and still to this day, get up amongst a PR nightmare and a personal crisis in every which way, facing a 9-figure lawsuit, and get up and still be grateful and still want to make a difference? Walk me through that process. That's what I want to know. When I sit down with, you know, Warren, already have. Yeah, absolutely. And,
isn't he? He's an Austin guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. You know, other people that are in business, like Mark Cuban, to sit down and, you know, talk about the business part of where so many businesses, you know, so many people really at some point sell their soul to make $1. Oh, how have you been able to maintain your ethical compass as a billionaire with so many things that you've done? And how did you face those temptations, right?
He's really tall. And he's really nice.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. But, you know, no matter what, everybody is still, the most successful people don't look at themselves as successful because in their eyes they haven't succeeded yet.
They're on the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Will Smith, that's definitely a guy I want to sit down with, man. Because his narrative and the way he talks is so in parallel aligned with I Decide in 35K that I cannot wait to sit there and have a conversation with Will Smith and both of us be like, knuckles. You know, like that is it, man. You know? And just talk about his journey and how he really began to cultivate that perspective and mindset. You know, I don't care about the millions. I don't give a shit about that. I'd love to hear about how you've taken a life that everybody thinks is so perfect and still face your struggles and overcome them. How do you do that? You know, because most people, they face their struggles, they face temptations, and out of fear of failure, they just don't do anything because they don't have a beacon yet that has really been practical enough to help them navigate through it. That's why I do this.
I was told by a really famous podcaster to go after your unicorns.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, because there are some people I want to talk to, and I've reached out to them. And do I expect them to get back to me? No, not in reality. You know.
Yep.
But I know, just like my daughter's next job was working for the Kardashians.
I love it.
And people go, oh my God, how'd you get that job? I can show you. She literally, they put an ad out through Jenner Communications. She applied. She got the job.
That's amazing.
You know. So a 22-year-old graduating college was her references were Jared Leto, Kim Kardashian, and Khloe Kardashian.
The world is your oyster, my friend.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But then I always tell people she's the reason why I have my podcast, because it was like I'm the one telling her, go ahead, go for it. Why not? You know, the only thing they can say is no. And I wasn't applying it to my own life.
Yeah.
And I can't start a podcast. I don't know how to record things. I don't know how to use a microphone. I don't know how to edit audio. I don't know how to do a website. I was giving myself all the excuses that I wouldn't have allowed my daughter to give me.
Yeah.
So
isn't that funny?
I kind of called myself to the mat.
But hey, you know what? That's the amazing thing. You were self-aware enough to go, oh shit, and then you did something about it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the difference, Pete. You saw it and you acted on it. That's why you're sitting here right now with us.
Yeah, that's right.
I love that, dude. I love that.
So I'm talking to you now.
Dude, I was just so honored when you asked.
Oh no, man, I was so excited that you said yes. That's just awesome. I love talking to people.
Yeah, we're the next time we come out, we have to get together because we're actually looking for a place in Huntington.
Where at?
Huntington Beach.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. My mother-in-law lives in Irvine. We have some family in San Diego, and then others up in Thousand Oaks, and then Santa Barbara.
Yeah, you'd be about splitting the difference. You'd be closer to Irvine than anywhere.
Yeah. So, but we love the area. You know, we love that. We took the kids to their first California vacation a few weeks ago, and we hit Laguna, we hit Huntington and Newport, and they just fell in love with it. So we're like, all right.
Well, and I mean this sincerely, let me be your tour guide. Let me show you around.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I mean, I can show your kids where some movies were made. And
oh my gosh, they love it. We're actually
well, Dax is young, but
Dax is something else.
I can show you where the Catalina wine mixer was filmed.
Oh my God. My wife and I actually just referenced that last night. We died laughing too.
It wasn't filmed in Catalina. It was filmed right around the corner from me.
That's so funny. Oh my God, I love it.
But so I had actor Max Martini on my show, and he was in Saving Private Ryan, 13 Hours, Pacific Rim, all 50 Shades of Grey movies.
Wow.
And he was on my show because one day there was a movie on Netflix called Sergeant Will Gardner. It was about a veteran, and Max was the actor in it. That's all I knew about it. Yeah. My wife goes to work. She wouldn't want to watch it. She's not an action army, Anyways, I put it on the opening scenes in Redondo Beach, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I tried renting that apartment right there. I knew exactly the street Dave was on.
How funny.
And so I just sent him a DM through Instagram saying, hey, I just watched your movie, really enjoyed it, and thanks for filming in Redondo for part of it.
Yeah.
And he got back to me the same day.
That's crazy.
And then, like a week later, I'm like, hey, I don't know if you'd ever be interested, but I have a podcast. And he's like, yeah, as long as I can talk about my movie, because he wrote, directed, produced, and acted in that movie.
Oh, sure.
And he put up his own money, and all of his he called all his markers. So he had Gary Sinise in it.
Oh my gosh.
Robert Patrick from the Liquid Terminator guy.
Yeah.
The Dermot Mulroney. He had a whole bunch of Omari Hardwick was in it.
Wow.
And so he called in all of his markers, and the movie was made for like $2.5 million, which is cheap. I mean, for a major movie, it's a $10 million minimum type deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so he was just a super nice guy, and just like you, I'm a normal guy, just like. He was just like, yeah, I appreciate you letting me talk about my movie. I'm like, really? You know what I mean? It's like,
actors are funny. Their personalities. Most people don't realize they are so uncomfortable when they get interviewed because they're very insecure because they never know if they're good enough. And because they're always having to face rejection, they're always kind of already accepting the fact that they're not going to get the part. And so they flourish as portraying themselves as someone else. But when you see them on a talk show, it's very hard for them. You can tell they're nervous because they're not comfortable being themselves. And I love that about them because they're so humble in what they do. And when they do hit stardom, they still feel like this isn't going to last. You know, it's like the most perishable profession that, you know, there is an end point coming at some point. You know what I mean? And if they hit 100 episodes on a TV show, or they get picked up by a studio, or they actually hit the screens, it's like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this ride, but I know this is going to be short. They're so humble about it. Most of them, anyways.
Well, no, you're absolutely right, and it's kind of the other thing you got to remember when you're watching a movie and they're talking about it. It's something they worked on a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and sometimes longer. You know.
Yeah.
And like, but I think for Max for Will Gardner movie, he was involved with so much of it. But you know, when you're an actor, you get on, you go, you film for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month if you're a lead, and then you're working on the next project.
Yeah.
You know, he's now in let's see, in October or November, December, he's going to start filming a new movie called Sundown in New Mexico, and we're actually my apparel company is going to be a product placement sponsor in the movie now.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's a rodeo movie, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah, it was very cool. And like he sent the script to the president of my company and all that, so he read it and made sure it was going to be what he wanted, and it's kind of neat. But you know, so here I am talking about Will Gardner. At the time, he had already directed the next movie, a zombie massacre movie. He was filming The Purge season 3 in New Orleans, and he's getting ready to shoot Sundown. But yet I'm talking to him about a movie that he did over a year ago.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
Yeah, you know, that'd be like somebody saying, hey, I want to talk to you about a podcast you did a year ago. I'm like, well, I've done 50 cents, so shoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've had
By the way,
when
when you sent me to the 10 Hall website,
yeah,
those literally were some of the coolest boots I've ever seen.
That was literally the first job I got really working for this company was 10 Hall was started in 2010, and that's when I started working for them. And I was going out to rodeos and selling 10 Hall, and it was blowing everybody away because they had never seen anything like it.
So creative, and I mean, to even do something artistic like with the soul was like, oh my God, that's just so cool.
Yeah, and it looks so simple, but they went through so many iterations of because it's a plastic rubber compound, and if they put too much plastic in it, it became too hard and brittle. If they put too much rubber, it became too pliable. So it's literally a perfect combination of the two to make it clear and still it wears down like a regular leather sole.
Yeah,
but it doesn't absorb water. So in theory, it can make it last longer, especially where you live.
That's amazing.
A lot of water.
That is so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we were the only ones, and then they patented it, and it's kind of cool because the people that designed the 10 Hall boots will actually ask us, the sales reps, hey, you know, what ideas do you have, you know, for another crazy boot?
Yeah,
so
that's so cool.
I have a boot being made for me, and I hope I get it by NFR. It's going to be a Mohawk boot.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm doing a hair out boot.
Yeah.
And they're going to shave it down, so I can have a Mohawk. So I can spike it up if I want, or I can just mat it down.
Oh my God, that's next level in footwear.
Well, I've got Cayman, I've got alligator, I've got, you know, all the boots I'd ever want. Stingray, you know, all
the boots I never want. That's so funny.
Well, you know, it's you get them when you get them for free.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Our company is very awesome. For anybody that works for us at a part of the National Finals Rodeo, we give them a free pair of boots, 5 pairs of jeans, and 10 tops.
Wow.
So, and you get paid, and you get a lunch every day and all that. But you're getting, I mean, you know, a good pair of boots is $300, starting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, my alligator is $600-$800.
Yeah.
At retail. And so after, this will be my 11th NFR I've worked. So just if I just did nothing else, I don't even take the jeans anymore. So I'm like, I started counting. I'm like, I got like 60 pairs of jeans in my. I'm like, I don't need them, you know.
In one butt, like that's just not going to work.
Yeah. And then, you know, my wife's like, no more blue shirts, no more blue plaid shirts. I'm like, all right, you know, shoot.
Okay.
Now I'm getting red shirts and green shirts, and like I said, so all my boots, I've had hand tooled boots, wing tipped. You know, so I asked the designer, because everyone likes my hair out boots that we make, and I've been wearing them. They're really comfortable. But dude, could I shave this down? And he's like, oh, you need a longer hair. I go, yeah, I do. He goes, all right, let me work on it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty neat. I hope it works, but we'll see.
That's pretty awesome.
We'll see. I'll get to those deuce boots. I have to get to the money boots.
Oh, dude, that one was like, oh man, that I totally dig that one.
you know who buys those the most?
Who?
Are bull riders.
Really?
Yeah, the bull riders. They like, because they're all about the money. They ain't riding the bull for fun.
That's funny.
They're riding for money.
I like the symbol that the only way to make money is boots on the ground. You got to put in the fucking work.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about it.
How true is that, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, that's just proof.
Oh, man.
So.
Dude, I dig it.
All right, buddy. Well, like I said, appreciate the time more than you can appreciate, than you know. But you're definitely one of the guests I want to have back on at some point.
Man, you just let me know when. I'm thrilled, man. Either I can contribute or help with anything. I'm game. You got my number.
Done deal. And yeah, like I said, next time you come out, I'll give you the Hollywood tour that way you don't have to sit on those ugly buses.
Okay.
With the no roofs and the vans with no roofs and all that.
Yeah,
I did that for the first time in my life, like 5 years ago, and it was cool. I learned some stuff. So now when people come, I go, oh no, that's where they filmed the Iron Man house, and that's Michael Jackson's house, and that's where he died, and there's the Playboy Mansion. And so
my wife and I actually got married. Her family has a vineyard in Los Olivos.
Nice.
And it didn't realize that Neverland was literally like 1 or 2 miles down the road. I had no idea.
I have a store in San Ynez as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She has
And,
an aunt that lives there.
Dude, so I'm eating at the Red Barn there, right across the street from my store, my account, and David Crosby walks in, and I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, oh, that's David fucking Crosby, you know. And everyone's like, yeah, he lives here, so it's not a big deal to see him, you know.
Yeah, that's funny.
And they're like, oh, Olivia Newton-John lives here too. I'm like, okay, my wife's gonna want to move here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's funny when you with celebrity sightings when they're not at some like celebrity thing. I mean, literally, when we came back from our last California trip, I'm standing there with Dax, or with all of our luggage. My wife and Dax were in the bathroom, and then literally walks right by me is Joel Osteen. I mean, the face, the big smile, the hair. I don't know if the guy never not smiles. He was a lot shorter. He was a lot shorter than when I realized, which reminded me about the time that I met and photographed Usher a long time ago. Because it's like people are not what you expect when you meet them face to face. It's just so funny. And as he walked by, I'm scratching my head, grinning. I'm like, oh my God. My wife goes, "What's the matter?" I said, "Joel Osteen just walked by." That was just the weirdest thing. It's just too funny.
We've had several, obviously, where we live and all that, but
yeah,
we had my wife and I were in Beverly Hills. We were eating lunch out on the patio. It was a gorgeous day, 70 degrees. And usually we'd see somebody famous, you know. And I mean, literally, while she was getting a procedure done, I'm walking around, and Justin Bieber walks past me.
Yeah.
And his bodyguards were, behind him. So he was by himself. No one was taking his picture, and everyone was leaving him alone. But so we're sitting there. So anyways, we're having lunch, and she goes, "God, I'm just surprised we haven't seen anybody." I know. And so she gets up to go to the bathroom, and Jamie Lee Curtis walks by.
Oh, dang.
And I'm
Holy
like,
crap.
so she comes back, my wife comes back to me, and I go, you just missed Jamie Lee Curtis. She goes, no. I'm like, yeah, she just walked right past us. She's in that store right next to us. So she went and looked at her.
My wife, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, was eating at a restaurant in Newport, and she was sitting at the bar area, and she was actually watching football, and she's a huge NFL fan. And all of a sudden, she realizes just about 2 bar stools away is Nick Cage, just hanging out.
That's what he does. That's what people do.
Yeah, just hung out.
I sold Nick Cage a leather jacket in December at NFR. He came into our booth at the rodeo. He
really?
He has a house in Vegas too. And he came in like 3 years ago with Carrot Top. And and so this time he came in with his now ex-wife, who at the time was his fiance. And so I was helping her out, and I didn't know who she was. And all of a sudden I heard his voice. He was like to the side of me, like, oh, that's fucking Nick Cage. I mean, one of the most recognizable voices you'll ever hear.
Yeah, and John McDonough.
Yeah. And so I go, he goes, hey, so you guys, do you have any new men's coats? I go, yeah. I go, come on over. So help him out. Bought a coat for him, bought a coat for his wife, or fiance at the time, and wife, now ex-wife. Mm-hmm. And guy was super friendly, super nice. He was complimenting us. You guys always have great stuff, and you're so friendly to me, and I really enjoy coming in here every year. And, it's like, he was a nice guy. I met celebrities have bad days too. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I've seen some where my wife and I have run into people, and I'm like, nope, not talking to him. He looks like he's having a bad day.
Yeah.
Which we're all allowed.
I have so much empathy for celebrities because you got to think their anonymity is gone, and they can't just live a normal life like most of us. When we go to the store, nobody's going to walk up to us unless we actually know them from school or work or church, right?
To a certain extent. And I'll tell you this, and my daughter obviously lived the life. She was Chloe's assistant for a year and a half.
Okay.
And my daughter was paparazzi because they thought it might have been Chloe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so people are following my daughter on the freeway.
Yeah.
So they think Chloe might be in the car.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, holy shit. Now I'm starting to worry about, and I go, obviously be careful,
Yeah.
People take pictures of her getting gas because it was Chloe's car.
Yeah.
Like,
it's, they go out in public and they try to live a normal life when they can, but when they're at a certain level and they're always being scrutinized and watched, it's just that's why whenever I see a celebrity out in public, I never go up and ask for an autograph. I mean, let these people have a dinner. Let them just enjoy. Yeah. Just don't be a fan. As cool as it is, don't be a fan.
Yeah, the only person I bothered, MD, was Olivia Newton-John.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's my wife's all-time favorite.
Yeah.
All-time favorite.
Yeah.
And I was at a company dinner that I invited my wife to go to, and she said no because she didn't want to go to the cowboy dinner.
Yeah.
Because she's not a big Western fan. And I didn't know Olivia was going to be there. And Suzanne Summers was there, and the John Paul Mitchell guy was there, and there are people there.
Wow.
And so Olivia Newton-John walks by, and I'm like, oh my God, my wife will not believe me. She'll think I'm bullshitting her. I mean, and that's something I would BS her with.
Yeah.
And so I talked to her. Her husband was super friendly, super nice, and they were getting ready to leave. And I said, I hate to do this. I never do this, but is there possible I can take a picture with you? She goes, yeah, don't worry about it. No problem. I take the picture, and I thank you. And she gets in the elevator, and they leave. And so I send my wife the picture because she was in Vegas, and she was having dinner with a friend. And as soon as I hit send, one of my customers who happened to be at the party comes up to me. So I put my phone away because now I've got to interact with a customer.
Yeah.
And I can feel my back pocket.
Yeah.
And I know what's going on. So I finish up with my customer. I look at my phone. It's text. Don't let her leave. Don't, where are you? I can be there